so freaking bad. Wrestle me.
Welcome, everybody, to Juice Pro Wrestling, episode 161. Cryptic Closet with Julio A. Guerra. Julio, brother, how the hell have you been? It's been a couple years since you've been on the show. You've done so many things. We have such little time to rap about all of them. So let's just start it out. How the hell have you been these last 2 years?
I've been good, man. A lot of changes and stuff. A lot of good things going on. And thanks for having me,
changes, man. More pump, you know?
A little bit. You can't see it right now, though.
Hell yeah. Well, that's good to hear, man. Last time I've talked to you kind of on and off, throughout the years since we met, as I opened a nice cold Steve Weiser from my box of gimmicks down there. Oh, it makes you want to say, oh, hell yeah. Last time I was talking to you, though, you were switching jobs and you were actually going to work at Pro Wrestling Tees. And obviously that's something you're still doing. I'm sure it just, much like pro wrestling does for the men and women who do that, it consumes your life. Your work consumes your life. Not to mention the real reason why we're here, which is the third installment of the Cryptic Closet, which we're going to get to in a second. But let me know how this has been going. Because, dude, I'm sure it's, we got buddies who work there. I know Val. I don't know if Val's still doing it or not, but she was doing some stuff. And shout out to Matt Nix, who just dropped a bombshell today. And he's actually leaving the wrestling world for a little bit to kind of work on upstairs for him. So kudos to him for being able to do that. And hey, we'll see you on the flip side, brother. But dude, I've seen the designs that you've been able to do, and you apply. You're already a badass artist, dude. That you've been doing so many awesome original projects, and then just the stuff that well-known characters like your Marvel or DC characters in that, and your own creative stuff. It's just amazing art. I know I talked to you about commissioning a piece here for Juice Pro Wrestling, which we're gonna have to get that done sooner rather than later. But what's that experience been like for you working for them? And after you answer that question, let's go down a list so the people watching at home right now and listening in audio land will know just some of the wrestlers that you've been able to design merch for.
Oh, man.
It's been list.
Yeah, it's a long list. It's been great, man. So for those who don't know, Pro Wrestling Tees is under an umbrella called Creative Ventures. Under that, it's Pro Wrestling Tees, 1 Hour Tees, Barbershop Window, and Below the Collar. So I started off at 1 Hour Tees and whatnot. So working with the general public for like, hey, I want this birthday shirt done and stuff like that. And my buddy Vinny, who runs the Cryptic Closet apparel, he works on the Pro Wrestling Tee side. He was like, hey, man, Shane Helms wants some designs. I need help doing some stuff. You mind helping me? I was like, yeah, sure, no problem. So it just like spiraled from there after that. Like he shared it on his Instagram, and Crazy Steve just hit me up out of nowhere. We're just like, hey, really like what you did for Shane Helms. Can you help me out? And just went that way. And then September of last year, I became 100% Pro Wrestling Tees, designing, helping with getting the shirts going. And now I am the head of Global Shop AEW. So I help do all that stuff, make sure it goes where it needs to go. So,
you hear that? Boils and ghouls, we got a big wig.
So yeah, it's been fun, man, doing all that stuff, meeting the wrestlers, talking to them, figuring out what they want creatively, the visions they have for shirts, or just pitching ideas to them, or like, unfortunately, for some instances, the widows of said wrestlers, or like kids or whoever the remaining family members are, stuff like that. So it's cool, man. It's cool to see like AEW come on and they're like, don't forget we have stuff now. And it's that little graphic on the side, seeing your artwork on national TV or pay-per-view or something like that.
Dude. Yeah. And
awesome.
Making the region proud, dude. Our fucking brother from East Chicago, Indiana, like, dude, fuck yeah.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. So, yeah, the second part of the question. So I work with like everybody. Like you said, Val Capone, Matt Nix, Big C, Chris Castro, Crazy Steve, Cody Rhodes, Matt Cardona, Sammy Callahan, Max Caster. So the acclaimed. I had to throw him out there real quick. That dude shows nothing but mad love. He's awesome.
Dude, he's great, man.
who else have I worked with? Just AEW period overall as a company, freelance pro wrestling overall as a company. The brothers Lockhart from I think Reality of Wrestling, the Booker T Fed. Done stuff with them. Bad Obre Cartel from POW, which is just a Chicago Fed as well. Yeah, just going all over the place, man.
Even legends like Eddie Guerrero. You did Eddie Guerrero shirt, right?
Yeah, I did Eddie. I just did something with Chavo. Did something with Iron Sheik. And did something for Macho Man. So
did somebody say my name? Yeah. Dude, that's badass. What's that feeling like, bro? I mean, as I used to sort of kind of be artist guy who liked to draw things myself. I mean, it was cool whenever you would, get a piece that you like or whatever. But when you're drawing something and it's great, and I'm not knocking any of these guys because I love them all, the AEW stuff. But when you say you've done stuff for Eddie Guerrero, and who's obviously not with us anymore, but in Macho Man, I mean, that's kind of a whole nother level, like as far as like these are guys that like, especially with Randy, that crossed over so fucking hard into pop culture, that are like cemented in American pop culture for life. What's that feel like to be working on something for them?
It's weird, man. So the Eddie Guerrero one is the one that's closest to my heart. Eddie's my favorite wrestler of all time. And I just spitball an idea. Like, it wasn't like, hey, you need to do this Eddie Guerrero shirt. This is how they want. I just presented it. And Ryan was like, okay, I'm going to send this over to Vicky. And it just like mouth drop, like, wait, hold on. She's going to see my work. Yeah, she gets the final say because she's over Eddie's estate and stuff like that. So it was like, okay, cool. And I don't hear anything for a little bit. And I guess this is when she was transitioning over to AEW as well and doing her stuff. And next thing you know, I got like a few days before Eddie's birthday, it's like, hey, man, you got to go. Say, wait, what are you talking about? He goes, you got your shirt's been approved. It's dropping on Eddie's birthday. And I was just like, oh, okay. Like the little schoolgirl like came in my head like at a Backstreet Boys concert, screaming and squealing the whole nine and stuff like that, man. So it still feels good. Yeah, it's like everything. Even like Jeff Cobb, when he hits me up or we spitball ideas, I'm still like, I'm talking to Jeff Cobb. Like, oh my God, I'm still a huge fan. A lot of guys are like, it kind of like once you get into the business or something, you see that other side, you get kind of tainted or whatnot. I love this, man. So I'm always fanboying out whenever I get to work with someone or I get to see them come out with my shirt or something like that. The Macho Man was really cool because it was a harder one to do. It wasn't like the typical like WWE, WWF, NWO one. We did ours based off one of his movies. Legally, I can't say the movie name, but you're going
Does
nowhere.
it shoot webs?
Yeah. And I was just like, how come we don't have this? Like everyone else is making these kind of shirts, but this is an official Macho Man Randy Savage version of that. Why aren't they like capitalizing on this? So I asked around and it was, all right, man, do it. And we'll pitch it and we see what happens. And his widow was like, this is great. Let's do this. And we're just like, all right, cool.
I never thought about that nobody in all this time ever made that character's shirt. Like it was it's short, but it's such a, like, I remember being obsessed with those 3 minutes of that movie because of Macho Man. Like it was awesome because it was the first time Macho Man was being Macho Man, but he was being this other guy, and the other guy was awesome, super quotable. I never thought about that. That's very cool.
I think a lot of like wrestling fans too came out of that just like, oh man, Macho Man's in this movie, and it was like near and dear to them too. So that was really cool.
So 1-2 punch of first you get Bruce Campbell, and then like 3 minutes later you get Macho Man.
Yeah, it was cool. Like we're gonna hit all the planes on this one.
Thank you, Sam Raimi. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, so when you deal with like shit for Randy, is who's running his estate? Is that Lanny?
No, I think it's like, I want to say it's his wife because I don't think Papo does anything with that, because I know he does his own thing and stuff like that, and he's more pushing that, but I think he has some sort of a say, but not too much.
I have some shirt ideas.
Yeah, no,
We'll
because
talk
I mean,
later.
he's just whenever he has the opportunity.
Yeah, that dude is great. He's a
That's
poet,
right.
man.
Is that the wildest one? Like, what's that?
Lenny Popo. I was like, he's a poet.
Yes, he is. We all know it.
We got to experience some Lenny Popo poetry, which was fun. What were you going to say?
No, like, what's the one wrestler or talent that you've done art for? I mean, obviously, you know, we're talking about Macho Man, but what's the one? Was that the one that just totally blew you away that you've done art for? Like, what was the most psyched? Who were you the most psyched for to do artwork for?
Living or Dead.
Doesn't matter. Maybe Living Dead.
Oh man. Damn. Eddie, of course, was the big one. That's the unfortunately the deceased one. The living one. Man, I would.
You don't know who to say because whoever you say, the other people will be like, "Hey man, what the fuck?"
Yeah,
I thought we were in a tough spot,
Well,
but hey,
I was your favorite.
man.
No, I would say the one that I was like, okay, this is it. Is the Cody Rhodes was the one that I was just like, what the hell? Because again, it was one of those, I'm pitching this idea, and whenever you pitch for the bigger guys, they're very like hands-on and stuff like that too, which is cool. You know, they want the best representation of themselves. So I pitched this one,
Right,
and a lot of stuff was going on. Like I think that's when he lost the title to Brody, and he was going to come back, but then he changed his appearance and stuff like that. And I was like, okay. And then next thing you know, he wears it at a pay-per-view. And I was just like, holy shit. Like that was the moment and the one I was just like, wow. Cause like my buddy was here watching it with me and my mom, and like just seeing the excitement from my friend and my mom was insane. Just like,
oh, yeah.
and they're like, did you know he was going to wear it? I was like, no, I had no idea that the guy was going to come out in the shirt and stuff like that. So that's where I was just like, this is fun. I mean, it always has, but that was like the moment I was just like, holy, like, no
You're
way.
on TNT, man, essentially.
Yeah. So yeah, that's those two, I would say. Everyone else too has been cool. So, but I don't want any heat or anything.
Oh, no heat, no heat. No, bring the heat on me for asking such a fucking hard-hitting question. Bring it, guys, bring it. Seren, quit shaking your head, you piece of shoe.
No.
Let me ask you this, because you guys, I'm assuming, work your asses off. You know, I mean, how much time is really spent by the pro wrestling tees guys, and including yourself, watching wrestling? And what wrestling are you guys watching?
So we're watching everything. Honestly, we're watching MLW, of course, AEW. We're watching Warrior Wrestling when we can. We're watching Freelance, New Japan, anything that's on Ring of Honor. We're watching it. We have to be on top of it. Like if someone says something and we're like, that's a shirt, we got to be on it. So we're constantly working nonstop. Like right now, Raw's on. We're watching Raw.
I'm sorry.
Oh, well, because you don't know who's going to get released.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
like we got to be on top of that.
You guys have pools? You ever take pools? Like, hey man, this guy's gone. You know, for sure. I ain't seen him in a while.
We do guesses. I wouldn't say we put money on it, but we just sit there when they're like, oh, a list, and I'm sure like every other wrestling fan and stuff like that. Because that's what it is. It's a bunch of guys and girls who are wrestling fans, and we create stuff based on our passion and who we like and stuff like that. And it's just like, all right, who's here? And then I think for the first wave, where like Samoa Joe got released, I said Aleister Black, and then the next
I was just going to say
Aleister Black got released.
I bet you're jumping at the bit, dude. Yeah, with your style and shit, dude. You could probably do something fucking dirty for that guy, dude.
Yeah, we're looking at some stuff. But yeah, like we watch everything. Like we're constantly like calling each other, texting each other, like inter-office messaging each other, spitballing ideas to one another. And it's cool, man. Like that. It's cool because it's a creative, friendly space, and that's really rare in a workplace.
Right.
Everyone else is like, no, I'm gonna outdo you. I'm gonna be better. Don't show me that. And it's like that competition. Even though it's like sometimes we have a friendly competition, like, oh man, you did that. All right, cool. Let me see what I can do next. But it's still very like, hey, Stank, Big Dave Stankin, he's the art director, unofficially art director because we don't have like position.
You just gave him a title because you're the fucking boss of Block A or whatever you said. Cell Block A, CB4.
Oh man. But yeah, he's like the head art director, and like we always go to him, and I feel bad because he's the guy who creates the micro brawlers and stuff, and he always has a lot on his plate. And you have like myself or Vinny Malave or any of the other designers like shooting him ideas like, hey, what do you think? This and this and that. But it's like that seal of approval when he helps you out and stuff like that. You're like, all right, cool, you know. But me and Vinny like spitball ideas to one another. We collab on stuff and everything like that, which is cool. Like we'll watch something and the next morning, like, hey man, did you see so and so and so and so? Yeah. What about this? Oh, well, I think that would look cool, but probably change this. So
fuck, man, you remind me of like the good times of like in high school when we were watching wrestling and it was on fire and you're going to school the next day, like, dude, you know, did you do that? Like, yeah, that's cool. And knew a couple of buddies like, hey man, draw me up some NWO logos and shit. Like, you're living that now as a profession, dude. And like you said, to have this positive creative space and not something where it's toxic, which, dude, let's face it, we've all had shit dead end jobs that it's just like, ugh, you know, what am I doing here? Just buy my time till I get to the next, you know, shit job or whatever. But that's super cool to hear that, you know. I mean, that's something that Sret and Strive to do when back in the day when you came to the studio, when we had the studio, we wanted to have a good, positive, created space. It didn't happen, but you know, it's tried. Great, man. I'm so fucking stoked and proud for you, man. Like ever since we met back in the day, for, you know, a young cat to be doing something from the region and doing some upper tier level like you're doing and to be involved in that shit, man, I'm super happy for you, brother. Much love.
I appreciate that, guys. Thank you so much.
It's also really nice to hear it because we met. So the names that you said that work at Pro Wrestling Tees, I haven't met most of them, and I'm not like I'm the guy that's still. I'll have a second story in a second, but like I still like to call myself the new guy, even though we've been at this for 3 years. So I'm not actually the new guy anymore. I should know a lot more than maybe I do.
Still a lot of training to do with this,
but there's still a lot to learn. But it's cool because like we know you, we know Val, we know Matt Nix, we know a handful of other people, and they always give off that impression of open arms, welcoming. Yeah. Just very cool. You know, you don't get the feeling that people are two-faced or backstabby, and but I don't have a good detective for that shit. So I always assume everybody's cool and everybody's nice. If you're nice to me, why would I assume otherwise? If you're cool with me, why would I assume otherwise? And it's super nice to hear that like the shit's genuine. So when you go to work, healthy competition, friendly competition is always awesome.
That's awesome. But that's how like some of the best
to hear that
people...
it's not cutthroat and shitty is just that makes that gives me hope for any like future projects that I try to work on, you know, and to know that you guys are, you know, if I see you guys, you know, tomorrow, if I see Matt Nix or Val or somebody that I know a little better, I'm that much more comfortable knowing that not like in a way you're kind of vouching for all that stuff. And it is really nice to hear. And then when you know somebody like me and Wallace and Bodie, we're all three of us just, when we hear somebody else is in a good place, dude, that makes us happy. You know what I'm saying? Because there's too many of us that complain all day long, have shitty jobs, you know, don't have the positive stuff that maybe, you know, everybody deserves that shit. So it's nice when you hear somebody has it, you know. That's all I want to say.
No, it's true, man. It is cool. And it is very welcoming. Like I was super nervous first going in, and
I bet, man, you're like a super reserved guy, man. You're so humble too and so fucking nice. Like, you know, as I drop F-bombs everywhere, I'm sorry. I hope if you have family listen, warn them El Hugo is rough around the edges. All right.
They're good.
But dude, like when we talk and stuff and you're just like, you know, thank you, sir. I'm like, man, don't show me respect like that. You know, I'm a fucking creep. Not really.
No, I appreciate you guys, man. Like seriously, like since I met you both, you guys have been nothing but supportive and love and sharing and greatly appreciate that, man. Like I saw you at a freelance show, scared me a little bit. I was like, who's this guy? And then he's like, oh yeah. I was like, oh, what's up, man? This and that. And then
was he wearing a suit then? Because we went to a freelance show once and he was wearing a fucking suit.
Me?
Oh, you were wearing like a button-up flannel or something like that, and I was like, wait, like, and then seeing you guys like at All Out and stuff like that, it's really cool to see you guys and stuff, and I appreciate you guys and like how you guys touched base real quick and said you guys were trying to do that positive thing in the studio, but you guys are showing it that it's more than just four walls because you guys are still going. Like we were talking earlier, like it's been like a little bit over 2 years that I was on with you guys, and you guys are still.
And I've been trying to bring you back sooner than that, but it's just like, hey, wait till I get this going, like.
Oh, yeah. And then you guys are bringing on people too. Like you guys just had PCO, and like I keep seeing your guys' stuff. I'm just like, man, who's he got this time? Yeah. So it's really cool seeing you guys do your thing as well, man. So same respect to you gentlemen as well. And it's good to see you guys still rolling,
Damn it. Stop right now. For people at home watching on YouTube, if you're not hitting like and subscribe, I don't know what the fuck is the matter with you, but I think we got to give the people what they want. Digital group hug. Come here. God damn it. Stratton, you got such a wide frame, you motherfucker.
I'm like that Michael Jordan poster from
Thanks,
the 90s.
Julio. You have a tender touch. Stratton, he's a little calloused. Jesus. Thank you for those words, though. That means a lot, man. So we'll get back into some more wrestling shit here in a minute. But let's go into the real reason why we're here, because you are doing this is the third installment of the Cryptic Closet, right?
Yeah.
Which is essentially your comic book that it's like a horror anthology deal. Mm-hmm. And you guys have worked in the past. You've also brought the wrestling and horror together, which is much what we like to do. Wrestling, horror, metal, comedy, all that shit. It's right up our motherfucking alleys. And you're bringing the same thing. And it's awesome. You, Karrion Kross, people might remember him as Killer Kross. You guys did some shit with him. And what was that, the first volume?
That was the first two. We were fortunate to get them both times. And the second time, we got him right before he signed with WWE. And so he did that as a favor to our buddy, Vinny Malave, who runs Cryptic Closet Apparel, like I said earlier. He was like his biggest supporter right when no one knew who Karrion Kross was. And so he was talking to him. He was doing designs for him and stuff like that, and like really pushing them and like, hey, you need to see Karrion Kross. You need to see Kross. And then next thing you know, this dude's on a national worldwide scale, and he's a champion now. So it's great to see him do that, man. And
yeah, for sure.
And he's super, super sweet, nice guy, man. Very down to earth, very supportive. Like he knocked the two amazing intros for us on issue 1 and issue 2. And like when you read those introductions from him, you can feel like that presence that he brings to a promo. And I was just like, that's talent, man. Because if you can hear the voice that you see during a promo in a writing, it's insane.
Well, and it's his vocabulary, brother. He's like top notch up there with his vocabulary. It's very dark, it's sinister, but it's articulate. It's intelligent, and that it gives you more of an evil vibe. And even more so for me, more of an evil psychotic vibe. That's why I always thought of like maybe even on the indies or even WWE now, like him and Scarlett is like Mickey and Mallory. Yeah. Like something like that. But dude, yeah, that dude's words could jump out of the page and fucking grab you.
Yeah. So
and he is a super cool dude, man. Like I've had conversations with him about music and metal and like Danzig and stuff, and I didn't expect him. I'd send him links to like my band and stuff that we've done in the past, and he's like, dude, like digging on it, like actually doing the shit instead of just not reading it, and interacting.
Yeah, he was really cool to work with. Like I said, on both books. So a rundown real quick on it. So we are during the third installment. So the first one came out 2019. Like you said, Karrion Kross was on that one, or Killer Kross. I think legally I have to call him Killer Kross when it's that stuff and it's not, VMK.
Legalities all day.
But yeah, so he did that one. And that was like our best Kickstarter, our best-selling title for a while. Like you said, it's a horror anthology. That one was like 32 pages. Featured guys from Northwest Indiana, Chicagoland, again, like helping our friends or brothers in the arts and stuff like that rise up and do something different. So it was a lot of people's first time either drawing a horror story or writing a horror story. But we went balls out and was like, we're going to do this. Vinny Malave is what I would consider one of my brothers in the thing. He, again, I keep saying Cryptic Closet Apparel because that's where it branched off from. It was just
keep on, because you got me hypnotized. I'm gonna go buy some shit.
We were just chilling, watching horror movies and just hanging out, and he was like, you know what, man, it would be cool that no one does anymore. I was like, what's up? He was like, you remember those old EC style horror anthologies like Tales from the Vault and Tales from the Crypt and Creepy? I was like, yeah. He was, no one does them, right? I was like, nah, man, I haven't seen those in a while. So he was like, we should do one. And this is like 4 or 5 years ago. We were spitballing it. And then his company grew. And then Miller and I went from being individual creators to forming Guerrilla Publishing with Adam Farster. And it was just the right time. It was like these two companies are coming up and let's do something. Let's do something new. Let's do something that people might want. There's probably
shout out to Adam real quick too, not to interrupt you, but he did this crazy Lisa Frank fucking poster for Handsome Prick's upcoming gig at the Franklin House in August on the 27th. So for you NWI folk, if you're around, you want to see some fine grind, hit us up at Franklin House.
And yeah, that he showed me it. I was just like, I know who Handsome Prick is.
You're free that night. Come check it out, dude. We dropped a new album this year, and it's pretty devastating.
Nice. And so we decided to do it, and we ran a Kickstarter for it. It was successfully funded. We did a special event release in the downtown Chicago area. It was by the Showplace Icon. It was like a little strip mall thing and whatnot. So we did an event called the Horror House, where Killer Cross was there for a weekend signing autographs and stuff. And we had other like local, well, I can't say local because there was guys from like Michigan, of course, Indiana, Illinois, Wisconsin,
Midwest.
To be vendors at this event that was just based on horror and pop culture. And that was a great event, and that was our launch. And we almost sold out of the book there. And so we're like, oh man, we got to keep going. What we're going to do? So we asked Cross there, it was like, hey, will you be willing to do an issue 2? And he said, yeah, I'm down. Let's do this. So then we developed issue 2, which became just a monster of a book. It was like double the stories from issue 1. It's thicker. The price went a little bit up for print costs.
The price always gotta go up when you get more meat, brother.
Yeah. And so we had more talent coming in. We had people coming back, and we ran a Kickstarter.
We're gonna get Punk to write a story for you. Get him off of that Marvel kick and get on the fucking Guerrilla Publishing. Come on,
we would love to have them. So we did the second one. That one went off without a hitch, and again, that one blew all our expectations out. We were funded in like 3 days, and I think we were asking like for $4 or $5 grand just to print the book. And then we did like pint glasses. We did all this extra merch and stuff for it. And like everyone was just like, here's my money, this and this. And the second one, we wanted to do 3D. Just to be like, oh, what's going to be the gimmick for it and this and that. So we're like, we'll do 3D.
Tables.
And everything goes around. Like, I'm surprised Vinny hasn't said that yet. It was like, oh, we Dudley Boyed it.
Right.
So we're like, all right, cool. So I messed up by not paying attention to the page count. So that's why we didn't do 3D for the second one. So we're like, oh, we got to do what all great horror franchises do on the third one. And we got to make sure this one's 3D. And then he reminded me of Jaws 3D, and I said, we can
Friday 13th, man.
So we're doing it. Kickstarter launches July 28th. This one will have some guys returning. We actually scored big on this one too. Rafael Nueves, who wrote Hellstorm for Marvel.
Oh yeah.
Came in and was like, hey, I want in.
Oh
And
shit, that's
we're
a
just
good
like,
get for you guys.
yeah, and we're like, all right, cool. And that's just one of two of the big stars we're having on the thing.
When can you quit being coy? Don't play around with my emotions, Julio. You know, when can you announce who the give the JP Woo what they want? Give them those tasty tidbits. Bust out some news that you ain't gonna bust out everywhere else.
All right, so we've been dropping hints as you've been seeing because I just saw your comment and I was like, damn it.
Very nice.
So we have a Ring of Honor superstar, the first independent wrestler to have his shirt at a Hot Topic without a company behind him. He also was just recently on the cover of an Image Comics called Commander in Crisis. And, you know, sometimes he's very nice, sometimes he's very evil. And so we're keeping that whole wrestling horror thing alive still with it. And we figured this gentleman was the perfect fit, given his gimmick and things like that. Maybe he'll come to your housing soon and you'll find out what we're talking about in the next few days. But he's another one that's been super, super supportive, super cool to work with. We're happy to have him on the book. We're happy to have every creator on the book and Raphael as well. But yeah, him too. We pitched it, or Vinny pitched it to him. It's like, hey, we're doing this book. Do you want to do it? And that the answer was given to me in a cameo birthday video. Was he was doing his thing. He goes, yeah, and soon to be Guerrilla Publishing cover boy. And I was just like, great.
Oh man, you got to do that person, you know, as like an old, you know, maybe Grindhouse like sexy pose or something.
I think it will fit well.
Yeah.
You do the drawing where like you got like maybe a machine gun or some sort of cool pen, and you're standing on top of a hill, kind of like an army of
He's
darkness,
like grabbing at your thigh.
on a pile of like monster bodies and like what is it? And then two like half naked girls grabbing at your legs.
Yeah.
One of those old covers.
We got to make sure there's some teeth on the floor.
Yeah.
Oh man, we're just dropping hints left and right. If you guys out there don't get it by now, then that's on you. That's your
But yeah, Wednesday, July 28th, we're dropping the Kickstarter for that. We're trying to raise $6,000.
And we will have links to that Kickstarter, by the way, in the description on this video and in the bio for the podcast, so everybody can click that and go support.
Appreciate it. So yeah, we're doing that. Also on that day, Ben Miller, who was with me last time on the podcast, will be doing a meet and greet at Creative Comics in Griffith, Indiana. So NWI guys.
That's right. I love that place, dude. I met a lot of wrestlers there, man. Scotty Steiner, where's my brother? Who got the best body?
Was he doing his math?
No, he didn't do his math. He actually walked in and he was like kind of shitty to somebody, and it's like, oh, Scotty in a good mood. It's like, oh, I fucking hope so, because I'm gonna piss off the big bad booty daddy, you know.
Oh man, yeah, Jim's a great guy. Those guys over there at Creative are awesome. He's had everybody like Rhino and
Sabu,
Jake the Snake Roberts, and like anyone has been at Creative Comics to do a signing as a wrestler.
Yeah, I just pulled from the gimmick box a very sweaty Orange Haze IPA. This is from Julio. If you ever get a chance, you and the guys at PWTs to check out Sound Growler Brewery in Tinley Park. It's awesome. They're basically the Three Floyds of that area, and some might even say better. Sorry, but this is Orange and delicious. So shout to Sound Growler. I gotta, pop my homies in this. Julio, let me ask you this. So horror anthology, which is super awesome. I mean, and it's kind of getting somewhat, you guys are doing your thing again. They got what's on Shudder for the horror fans out there. They have God, what's his name? Greg Nicotero of KMB Effects Group, and he's done like all the great. He's like the second guy up. There's Tom Savini and there's like Greg Nicotero. Like, I'm sorry, it's just the way it is. Disagree, if you like. I mean, he's doing the stuff with Creep Show on Shudder. Like, so you're starting to see more of that horror anthology stuff come back, which is super cool. And you're a big horror buff, man. Like, I want to kind of know I don't think we got into it too much the last time because it was you and Ben, but what kind of horror wise really grabbed you and inspired you? And like, is there any of these stories that are going to be coming up or even in the older books? Maybe the people that have them can get a little, insight into those. Is there anything horror wise that inspired your stories or your art or any of that?
Yeah. So basically I break it down like this when anyone meets me. It's horror, music, art, which essentially is art, is graffiti and comic books, and pro wrestling.
Horror's
so
always number one. Yeah.
And so horror's always been a part of my life and everything. So any kind of style of like horror art or anything I see from TV or movies or shows or anything, always like I kind of want to see that. I'm really, especially in the art stuff, I want to go back to those old days where everything was not handed to you. And I'm not knocking like Saw or Hostel or anything like that has the gore and stuff like that. I mean, those are cool because then we wouldn't have the Tom Savinis or the Greg Nicoteros or the Kurtzmans of the world making these awesome practical effects. But I grew up.
I miss practical effects.
Yeah, dude, who you telling?
I'm telling this.
But like stuff back in the day, they knew like the scariest part is your own mind. So everything was in shadows or led to these things. So you can scare the holy hell out of yourself by where your mind goes. So that's where a lot of like my stuff kind of goes for like art wise. Is I don't want to show everything. I want to go in the shadows and let you imagine something or let you think or leave you to run with this, because if anything, you're going to scare yourself first and I'm going to scare you. And a lot of the stories we did in all 3 volumes, there are like subtle hints here and there to other movies and stuff like that.
Little Easter eggs.
Yeah, they're like we did one called Carnies, which is basically like House of a Thousand Corpses style, and it has like that real Rob Zombie feel. Then we did one called Huntsman's Woods, it had that Evil Dead feel with all the woody areas and this wooden like tree monster. And
watch out for that branch.
Yeah, branch rape is a real thing.
So bad. They didn't cancel that tree. Damn it.
Exactly. They want to cancel a damn skunk, but they don't want to cancel a tree. Right. What kind of world do we live in, guys? And then we did another one which plays back to like things capturing your soul from Poltergeist with like a story called Tapes. And then in this one, this one's very tongue-in-cheek. Deathbag comes back for the first time in like 2 years. I haven't done a Deathbag story. So he's going to come back in Tales 3, and it's like him versus the chick from The Ring. I forget her name. But it's basically him versus her. And you can tell flat off, it's like, oh, he's watching The Ring. And then we have like a very Hammer style story with a Victorian one with Bill Hallier and Ralph Nuevez, like I was talking about him earlier. He's bringing that Victorian style, which we haven't even touched that yet. Yeah. And then we had like Abbott and Costello meets Frankenstein type stories where it had that old school humor, but still like monsters are there by Ashley Asper. So we touched
those are like my version of dad jokes in my world. Yeah.
Oh, dude, they're great. Like rewatching those movies, you're just like, it's still like, you're like,
Bride
okay.
of Frankenstein too, or what? No, Young Frankenstein. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh, dude, that's a classic.
Yeah.
Hands down. But yeah, we like the cool thing is a lot of these guys are horror fans. Like we have a guy that does Gentleman Monster Productions, but he's the head writer for Sam Terry down in Indianapolis. He's a horror host and stuff like that. So he came on and did a book with he did issue 2 and issue 3. Then we got Joshua Hall, who's a horror movie buff, and he runs Scarlet Lane Brewing in Indianapolis. And
write it down, Sredden. Can you repeat that?
Scarlet Lane. Yeah, go there. It's the official beer of horror.
We'll see.
They did the official beer for Horror Hound in Indianapolis.
Nice.
Yeah,
Very
so
nice.
we had guys like that come around and bring in their stuff, their stories and stuff. So it was like deep rooted. So we had like guys who were like raised on horror, guys who are just getting into horror. So you got to see like who liked what or who was influenced by the old EC style comics, like Bernie Wrightson and stuff like that, who can draw like him, and other guys who could
Yeah,
tell
dude, that
those
art
stories.
was so sick back in the day, dude. That old
Oh,
EC
yeah.
shit, dude. It was dirty. That's
Yeah.
like when I used to draw zombies and shit. I wanted a lot of like grays and browns and greens and a lot of like pencily detail in it. Like it's got to look like that, like the old EC style, dude. That it's so. It was way ahead of its time, man.
Oh yeah, that and there's a deep fondness for that. Like everyone talks about Marvel and DC and stuff like that, but
Get out of here with all that. I want to
Yeah.
see like the drip and the earthiness of like this rotting corpse.
Oh, yeah. That stuff was great, man. Like
Yeah.
it was cool, like how you just brought up the colors that they used, which was a lot of greens and browns and blacks.
Earthy tones, yeah.
Yeah. And it was to make you feel a little unsettling when you read it,
And it did. It very much did. Look at those comics were banned.
Mhm.
I don't know if a lot of people watching or listening right now know like their EC history, but EC Comics essentially turned into Mad Magazine because they were getting hammered, by like the government and just people pissed off mothers back in the day. They're like, we don't want our kids reading this shit.
Yep. And then years later, the same thing would happen with music and Tipper Gore and everything like that.
Yeah.
So it's funny, like how all art is basically parallel to one another. Just some
Art's
things
punk
happening.
rock because it's always going to piss somebody off, and it doesn't matter what kind of art you're into. It could be like the most like humbling, like I drew this vine of grapes that fucking sucks. It pissed somebody off. Like everybody's subject to their own approval and opinion. You know what I mean? Like it's always going to piss somebody off. You can never please anybody. That's why I love it.
Oh yeah, man. It's fun, man, like doing that and letting people figure out their own stuff in your art and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's what we like about, I think, with this book. Like we've done books, like I mentioned, Death Bag, we did Botch, we did a social justice book called Kanisha, and we've been doing these things, but like the horror one, I think is the one that grabs people because it pisses you off that like all these dudes of different races, different ethnicities, different backgrounds, all like horror and are making this book, and we're trying to touch everything. Yeah. And we're essentially pissing you off because of one of the few things. And it's a horror book, which is like shunned not only in movies, but in all kinds of physical like media, comics, music, plays, stuff like that. Everyone shuns it right away. And it's like, for what? It's basically social commentary,
Look at George Romero. He did his best social commentary with his movies,
Yeah, exactly.
You can't tell me Night, Day, and Dawn didn't represent where America was, political wise and socially at the time, then you're just fucking clueless.
Yeah. Also the amusement park, you were talking about Shudder earlier. That was another one that was just like, I think a lot of people are just being introduced to the movie because it was just like refound or rediscovered. And it's like, I just watched that, and I watched it with my mom.
Park?
Yeah. And it's like,
it's very unnerving, dude.
Yeah.
My girlfriend who loves George Romero couldn't watch it. Thinks
Really?
It sucks. I'm like, you're just not. I think you get it, but you don't get it. Like this is.
What's the story? What's the story behind that amusement park?
Essentially, it's just basically like how we treat the elderly and how like life sucks when you get older, and basically like you get crapped on the whole time. Like you get pushed aside because of certain things or because of your physical abilities, like your eyesight goes down, or you start to deteriorate in some sort of fashion, or you become like useless, and how people treat you. And it's all part of this amusement park. Like they tell, like for one thing was like the bumper car thing.
Yeah.
And
wow.
That one, I was just like, holy hell. Like you see like another person vouching for another person, but it's like, oh, because you're both old, it doesn't matter. And we point out the flaws of our elderly as opposed to try to take them in.
It's weird, dude. It'll make you feel weird. Like, I'll put it to you that way. Maybe that's why it was shelved.
And it's a George Romero movie that was just found or just released or what? That's the other part of the story.
It was recorded. Well, it's been done. I think what was it? Julio? They just found it and they tried to restore it to the best of their ability, like in 4K or whatever the fuck they're using, high def.
Yeah, it's
really weird, dude. It's super raw. It's like I said, dude. If for those that know Romero's work and know, like I said, what he represented in Night, Day, and Dawn of of the Living Dead, it's much the same, just on a different argument. Aging and the ignorance and like no compassion towards the elderly and like people as they age, but then you're feeling it from their side, like they're just getting like, oh, people, they're trying to tell a situation and specific thing that's going on. And people are just like, I don't care, whatever. You're just like some old fuck, It's very weird and unnerving, dude. It's like, and I think that's why my girl didn't like it. I think it hit her on a different level than she really knows or understands.
Yeah.
She was just like, I don't want to fucking watch this, because it's messed up. It gets in your head, dude. Like from the beginning, I was like, wow, this is a trip, dude. Like, good job, George. I miss you, brother.
Even like his horror anthologies, we going back to Creepshow, like the original rendition, the first two, there was social commentary in those as well. Him and Stephen King hit like certain things. I believe it's in the second one with the Indian guy who's like, yeah, I'm going to be a movie star. It was just like,
that one was good.
Yeah, it was like, oh, this is what we think of Native Americans, and are just like guys who sell cigarettes and cigars are just these wooden totems, but it's like so much more than that. You got to respect people's culture, regardless if you believe in it or not and stuff.
George was Rodney King before there was Rodney King. He was just like subtle about it. He's like, can't we all just get along?
Yeah.
Via his film career. I was like, come on, man. We're all fucking different. We all have bullshit. Let's just get along,
So, and that it's the other thing, like going back on all that, is like the horror community is the horror community and the wrestling community are probably the best communities I can say around right now, because it's really like a no judgment zone. Like you like what you like, and we're together because we like it. And that's what's really cool.
Brother, I need to get more wrapped into that horror community, because we do another show too, the JP Dub podcast. And that's more for people who are, filmmakers, everybody except pro wrestlers, That's the subject of conversation. We've had a lot of good people on. We had John Massari, who scored Killer Clowns from Outer Space. We had George C. Romero, son of George A., on the show. So everybody can check that out. And musicians and stuff. But I want to get more involved. Like on social media, it's hard. I try. Twitter has a really good wrestling community, albeit toxic a lot of times. But that's just, you can't fucking make everybody, intelligent, whatever. I can't find, like horror community wise, there's some decent people out there and some good pages, but I just don't think it's as big. So I'm like looking, if you guys are out there and you want to get into you're on these social media platforms, feel free to like talk about this and like find groups. And if you guys know groups, send them my way, because I want to be in it. Horror is my passion, dude, since I was like 4 or 5 years old. Like, I feel very strongly about it. And I like some very fucked up stuff. And I like some stuff that's, Serial Mom.
Serial Mom's great.
It's fucking awesome. Don't wear white after Labor Day. You're fucked.
Oh, man.
That's all I'm saying. So Julio, send them my way. We need more of a community for that. I think there is with horror, but it's a weird, I don't know, man. Maybe I just haven't found it. Because I see the conventions. It's much like wrestling. They have all the conventions and everything going on. And there's a lot of people from Return of the Living Dead I want to talk to. And it's just bothering me that I'm not right now. So I need to get into that shit, brother. What would you say is your top 5 favorite horror movies all time?
Oh, man. So right off the bat, like the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Ooh, I just watched part 2 again yesterday for like the 80th time
with the shimmy. Yeah. So definitely Texas Chainsaw Massacre. 70. That That one's great. Halloween 1978 is the second one. Just for the cinematic expertise on that, like that opening shot that's like no cuts, nothing. And the story for that's awesome. Number 2, Shaun of the Dead. To me, that one's great. Wait, that's 3, right?
That was 3. How many
4,
beers have you had, Julio? I'm gonna have to stop you right there in your tracks.
I'm drinking water. I'm drinking liquid death water.
Oh, you have tried to hit those guys up. I'm
You
like,
just-
I do that little
Julio
podcast, like sponsor us, and they're like, who the fuck's this guy?
Julio just made us a legitimate podcast. You're not legitimate unless somebody is drinking liquid death on your show. I've been noticing that lately. I'm like, everybody's everybody's opening their can right on the mic, so you could be like, why are they? Oh, liquid
All I
death.
have left is a knockoff Sprite.
Oh no.
Otherwise, I have to run away for a second.
Oh. Yeah. So Shaun of
the Dead was 3.
Shaun of the Dead 3. Night of the Living Dead number 4. Just again the social commentary for that. I have like more of a emotional connection to it, if that makes any sense, which is really weird. Like that movie's terrified my mother when she was a child, and I could watch like Day, Land, Dawn, and
Diary.
everything. Yeah, and the one thing was like you can't bring Night of the Living Dead into the house, and I'm like, but that's the main one. So we did a convention, and George Romero was there, and the surviving members of Night of the Living Dead.
Did you get to meet him?
Yeah, I did. I got a poster signed by like everybody that was there.
Boing.
And so I got to talk to the actor who was Johnny, and he's talking to me this and that. And he goes, "You're so young. Why do you love this movie so much?" And this and that. And I told him, like, it scared my mom. And for my birthday, she bought me it, and she sat down and watched it with me. And she's like, "This just scares me." And she's covering her eyes and stuff. And so I told him, like, you doing they're coming to get you, Barbara, and the daughter eating her mom.
Barbara. Stop it.
And so he was like, "Call your mom right now." I was like, "All right, cool." We call her, leave her a voicemail. And I was like, "Hey, you need to call me back right now." And he was like, "Okay, when she answers, you come back." I'm like, "All right, cool." So she calls, I run to him, and he goes, "They're coming to get you, Maria." And she flipped the fuck out. It was the greatest thing ever. So, and then after that, she became more of a Night of the Living Dead fan. She like really got into it, like the social commentary of it.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Okay, it's still, I could see why I was scared of it when I was younger, but now I appreciate it." And she got to meet the actor who played Johnny, took a photo wearing the glove, the whole nine. She geeked out.
Look at you bonding with fucking Madre over fucking Night of the Living Dead. It's awesome.
Yeah,
it's the greatest thing ever. It's the best fucking story I've heard all year, bar none.
And then number 5 will probably be the original Saw.
Okay.
Yeah, the first one, just because the twist ending, I still remember like.
What did twist?
What a twist. Dude,
you know about M. Night Shyamalan, didn't
Robot Chicken forever.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. But yeah, just remembering that twist ending at the end when I was in the theater seeing it and just like watching it and remember like it was more of a psychological thriller. And then, later on we all saw like it was just like more of a cash grab with the other ones. But
wait, are you saying we saw Saw?
We saw. That's
kind of redundant.
Yeah, I know.
No, I'm saying jokes.
But with Spiral, we see a reemergence and a love for the original Saw, more of a thriller and letting, even though they showed the traps and stuff, they kind of let you go somewhere. And I kind of really thought the story was kind of fresh and new, even though it was
Spiral's out now, right? That is out.
On like
the Chris
video
Rock one.
Yeah, it was good.
You enjoy that one?
I liked it for what it was. I'm not saying it was.
I haven't seen it yet, so I can't judge. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was a lot better than some of the Saw sequels, for sure. But yeah, Saw will be number 5.
All right,
Julio.
So you've done.
I have a question because Wallace is such a huge fan of Return of the Living Dead, and I started watching it last week. I haven't finished it yet.
You piece of shit!
I know I haven't finished it
from being
yet.
a piece of shoe to a piece of GD shit. I don't mean gangster
what
disciple.
do you like? What? Be honest. What do you think of it?
I love
wa-
Return of the Living Dead. It is great.
Because he's a gentleman, Sren.
Dude,
You're a piece
that
of shit.
opening part of the skull just running up, and you hear, "Who wants to party?"
Party time!
And then Tarman is probably the best practical effect zombie I've ever seen, hands down. So just that movie, it's so punk rock and like everything. It is definitely a July 3rd movie. So it goes July 3rd, you watch Return of the Living Dead. July 4th, you watch Jaws, and just there you go.
That is everything he said right now is 100 per fucking cent true.
So yeah, I mean it's great. It's a comedy. It's a horror movie. The practical effects in it are like severely underrated. The story for it's really cool. I like that they did try to bring it into continuity with Night of the Living Dead, and like, hey, did you hear about what happened there? And
remember that movie Night of the Living Dead? You know, the corpses in the basement.
And then, oh, you're not there yet, but this will bring significance to you later. It's bring more cops.
Stupid.
Yeah. Send more paramedics. Dude, first two, I love all the first three. The necropolis and the one after the rave to the grave, you know, all over the screen. But yeah, dude, the original, like you said, dude, I don't know why. I mean, but it is a lot of people. And shout out to Ava Lawless, who we had on here, Canadian professional wrestler. She shares the same sick obsession for that movie that I do. And it's very cool to talk about that. That's what's cool about the horror community, man. So I'm hoping that they turn on droves, you know, to support this Kickstarter, and anybody that's in comic book land and all that stuff. I had to stop collecting a lot of books. Now I only buy books from like my homies and stuff. Cause dude, the comic book world is so crazy. And it's been crazy since I was a little kid. You always have Marvel and DC trying to every summer, like compete with a huge story arc. And it's just, we're going to put 13 different books out, you know, for this story arc. Like, you can't keep up with it, dude, unless you're just living large. It's like, come on, man, don't break me down. I'm middle class. I ain't got much.
Yeah. And so the comic book community and the business has been weird, and deep diving deeper and becoming guerrilla publishing is really thrown us, I wouldn't say for a loop. Like, we kind of knew what to expect and stuff, and a lot of people don't realize,
you need to just sell Death Bag to a movie studio and be done with it.
My goal is Adult Swim. I want a Death Bag Adult Swim 15-minute, like how it used to be. Just do those real quick. But yeah, the comic community, well, the community is great. Same thing. I didn't give them any love on when I said about horror and everything else. But yeah, the comic community is great. Like every community, everything's a little bit toxic, like how you were saying earlier. But
right.
It's in Northwest Indiana. Definitely, like, there's a lot of love here. I love doing shows here in Chicago because there's nothing but love. When you kind of go somewhere else, you can kind of see their communities and stuff like that. And if you're like an outsider and they don't know you, they kind of like just stay away from you. But here, it's nothing but love and stuff like that. But if you notice, like, there's been a lot of documentaries because of the Marvel movies and stuff like that, showing like the underbelly of the businesses and stuff like that. Like they're doing right now with like wrestling with Dark Side of the Ring and
exactly,
and stuff like that. So they're doing that for comics as well, and they're showing you stuff. And that's what it is. Like, essentially they knew, you know, these movies were making millions of dollars and whatnot. So how do we entice guys to read our product? Because essentially Marvel Studios, which is a cinematic, is different from Marvel Publishing, you know? And so it's like, how do we get readers in? Oh, we're going to do a summer blockbuster. Like, just like Dark Side of the Ring and the AE biographies are doing that stuff for comics, so you can see that stuff. And so I would say like Image Comics is what really broke the mold for a lot of us who
growing up too, man. Young artists, dude, you had every badass that worked on everything from back in the day. Every DC Marvel character you love was like, dude, we're, you know, independent. They wanted to be independent, and they started a thing that it's still rocking to this day, you know?
Yeah.
Where do you motherfuckers think you got The Walking Dead from?
Exactly. And look, Spawn is the longest running independent published comic ever. He broke
I bought
the world
the first
record.
one.
You know, so seeing stuff like that and whatnot gives us a lot of hope. And when I say us, I mean the collectives who are or creatives who are trying to be out there and putting their heart in so many pages and running themselves ragged and spending a lot of money to make published stuff for others to enjoy. So when someone does back a Kickstarter or goes, hey, I really enjoy this or whatnot, that really does mean the world to any creator. And it's fun because I think the three of us, Miller, Adam, and I, we get to walk that line between being on both sides of the table. We're still fans. We still go meet people. We're still fans of artists and writers, and we still read books. And then we also get to be on the other side where we get to meet people who enjoy the same things we do and who like our books and whatnot. So it's very awesome doing that and whatnot. But, you know, we still give love to Marvel and DC because without them, you know, we wouldn't have all this. But then you can see but you see the differences in the companies now. You see like, oh, we got, you know, because Disney bought them out and it's all about making money and stuff. And it is a business, but it's not a business for everybody. Like us in Guerrilla, we want to bring our friends up. We want them to tell their stories without having to worry about being censored or who's going to own the rights to my character and stuff like that.
And people to be successful and live off any artist dream is like, dude, that's your job. You want to do it. You know, you don't want to feel like I'm punching a clock every day. And I have a strong opinion on that. I feel that like as an artist or a creative person, especially in America, the greatest country on earth, right? You should, as long as you bust your ass doing it, have the opportunity to do that and not be censored and, you know, tell whatever story you want to tell and bring your homies up as well. Because we all should be living that good life if we're passionate about what we're doing and having a good time while we're doing it, you know? Yeah,
definitely, man. So it's cool seeing that. So yeah, it's been weird, man. Deep diving into, well, to recap from all the way from the beginning, the last 2 years, deep diving into the wrestling business, deep diving into creative or independent comics and creating it and creating a company and watching the company I do work for grow even more and then creating my own company that is growing as well. So it's been fun, man. It's been a wild ride, and I'm very happy with it all.
Hell yeah, brother, as you should be. And, you know, shout out and kudos to you and Ben and the whole team, man. Everything you're doing. It's like I said, you know, I can't kiss your guys' ass enough because I am genuinely so fucking happy for you cats, man. Like it's, even if you weren't from like around the area, which is super cool for me, because then, you know, we can hang out or do whatever and we have this interaction. But man, dude, I'm just glad you guys are doing it because I love to see creative people and artists do their thing and be happy, you know, like that's what it's all about, man.
Yeah, thank you, man. Appreciate that very much.
Julio, as we end here, I want you to once again let everybody know where they can join the Kickstarter and support the Cryptic Closet 3D. Which is so badass, dude. I can't wait to throw those glasses on, dude. I saw your Instagram posts and social media posts and stuff, and that's pretty fucking awesome.
Thanks, man.
The 3D concept's cool. Your art style is super sick. I'm pumped, man. I'm pumped for everything. So let everybody know where they can hit the Kickstarter up, the date again, and where they can follow you guys and yourself on social media.
Cool. Yeah. So the Kickstarter launches again on July 28th, and it'll be on Kickstarter.com. You can type in the search bar, put Tales from the Cryptic Closet 3, and it'll pop up, and you might see a little evil or maybe a little very nice on there in the video. Kickstarter.com, July 28th, Tales from the Cryptic Closet 3D. Guerrilla Publishing can be found on all social medias, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Just type in Guerrilla Publishing. I think on Instagram we're Guerrilla_pub. And on everything else, we're either Guerrilla Publishing or Guerrilla Publishing Group. I'm on Instagram at Arte de Guerra, and then Facebook, just Julio A. Guerra, or the same thing, like Guerra de Arte and stuff like that.
Hell yeah. Everybody, be sure to support this Kickstarter and share with all your friends. If you're into wrestling and horror, hit Julio up. Guerrilla Publishing, a great set of independent artists that are doing great things for the artistic community and the like-minded. So, Julio, thanks again for coming on this show. Again, we're going to have you back for the third time. Third time's a charm, you know?
Yeah.
I know we're really charming anyway, so it's like whatever. To hell with that statement. But thank you guys. Thank you everybody for watching and listening. If you're watching on YouTube, hit like and subscribe, share with your homies. Same thing out there in podcasting land. Please, it doesn't take much to leave a fucking review and a rating. If you like it, even if you didn't, I want to know, leave them in the comments. Do what you got to do in the podcast land to share, download, help us out. It's a good time. Thank you all for your support. I had a great time last week. I had to throw us in real quick. Episode 160. Me and Sredden were actually together for the first time in like almost a year and a half outside with some tiki torches and some personalities, baby. And I had a great time. And nice. I hope everybody out there is enjoying the same thing. So hit us up, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Sometimes I fuck with TikTok, but it's really annoying. So whatever, you can watch whatever's on there. It might be good. You never know. And download on any podcasting platform. Julio, brother, once again, thank you so much. This has been Juice Pro Wrestling episode 161, Cryptic Writings with Julio A. Guerra. And I only got one more thing left to do, Julio. We got to lead them out. We got to get them real nice and wet. Pop open that Budweiser, that Stone Cold, whatever you're drinking, that liquid death, and wet them up. Wet them up. Wet them up. Wet them up.
You gonna do sex to me?
Did you like that video? If so, be sure to hit like and subscribe and check out more killer content from your boys at Juice Pro Wrestling. Whoa, yeah!